Now from the shores of Newport to New Haven, the South Coast to South County, this is Coastal News.
Hi everybody, and welcome to another edition of Coastal News. My name is John Rook. Where do we go this week? What do we do? Seems this time of year the options are plentiful. Whether you enjoy water sports or maybe just a hike around the coastline, perhaps taking a bike ride, there are so many choices that you can make, and all of them well worth your while. Our Jim Parisi decided to dive into the water, so to speak, near Narragansett, where he found some guys and gals catching some gnarly waves.
John, the surfers were out in full force in Narragansett, but who would have thought just a few days later the beaches would be closed for the first time ever due to shark sightings?
This is the first time in the history of Narragansett that the beach has been closed because of a shark sighting.
How about revenue? That's a difficult decision to make, I would imagine, right?
Revenue is down 40% today.
The swimming ban was taken as a precaution after shark sightings over a 2-day period.
We had 2 official sightings yesterday. We had one in the morning by a local citizen. We followed that up with a confirmation late in the day by our staff members who were in the water from our surf rescue team, who noted as many as 6 different sharks in the water at that time. As we moved into this morning, the same water restrictions were in place. There was actually no water access allowed. It was ankle deep only. Due to the oppressive heat, we felt that that was necessary to at least allow the general public who was here today to get down to the water to get refreshed, and we felt that that was a safe decision to make at that time. As of late this morning, as Mr. Luchins mentioned, we did have a sighting. That basically for us confirmed in our mind that the water would remain closed for the rest of the day.
And so it went, the town taking a day-to-day approach to the ocean access by swimmers, while a team comprised of various groups keeps a watch on the water.
At this point, we do have no new information from the patrols that have been out there, and that's also our surf rescue team staff on their rescue boats that are here at the town beach, along with surf kayaks, in conjunction with the Narragansett Police Department and their patrol boats. Some new information that we do have, we have recently made official contact with the Fish and Wildlife Division of Department of Environmental Management. They are prepared, if this problem persists in the next day, to put several DEM boats in the water to assist us in determining what type of sharks actually that we're seeing out here.
The town has experts getting involved to try to determine exactly what people are seeing in the waters off Narragansett Town Beach.
They have put us in contact with shark specialists from the National Marine Fisheries Service, who are presently compiling some general public information for us on possible candidates as to the types of fish that we might be seeing, whether they're sharks or some other species that may look much like a shark. So at this time, the one piece of information that's most important to us in making a determination relative to public access to the water, which we still don't have, is the species of the shark.
Coastal talked with a lot of those at the beach the first day swimming was banned. Many felt the story was being overblown. One person stopped me to say sarcastically, "Oh, big story. People see fish in an ocean." But Nada says there is reason to be cautious.
Because it is so uncommon, a lot of people here that we've spoken to really are not overly concerned. And we're not sure what they're basing that feeling on, that very lax feeling on. We're extremely concerned, only because some of the sightings that we have been well within the surfing area, well within the swimming area. If all of the sightings were 200, 300, 400 yards offshore, we might have a different feeling about lessening the restrictions that we have. But due to the fact that our guards have had several sightings within the restricted swimming and surfing area, we can only plead with those people.
And Nada says they are working hard to get the word out through news conferences like this one and other means.
We have Beach Patrol staff that are on until from 6 p.m. until 2 a.m. We're making public address announcements constantly from this pavilion as well as our North Pavilion. We have patrols that are walking the beach, educating parents and kids and other people that are out there. But clearly there are going to be those people who just take the risk into their own hands and put themselves potentially in harm's way. And that's a decision that they have to make. As long as we educate them as to the potential risk, really the decision is theirs.
So why do officials feel the sightings are credible enough to keep people off the beach? After all, it's been a rough early summer weather-wise, and shutting the town beach is not to be taken lightly.
Purely based on the 2 confirmations that we've had, a local surfer who was out paddleboarding, who's a local person. We're still trying to ascertain who that person is exactly and get a name for you. The other thing is the gentleman who is a member of our lifeguard staff has extensive diving experience, snorkeling, spearfishing, is very confident, became within a fairly close proximity to these to these fish, which he said in his mind undoubtedly that they were sharks. That being the second sighting, and then again this morning with 2 additional people having a sighting, for us that's more than enough to take the necessary steps that we've had. So we've actually had 3 sightings.
So who had to make this difficult decision? Coastal talked with both officials after the news conference.
Ultimately, I make the decision, but Andy Notter and I work together, and we have a meeting every day. In fact, we have several meetings during the day to evaluate all the information, and then the decision was made.
No, obviously safety is always the number one thing
Yeah.
you got to worry about. But you get any objections from businesses, or how? What do you
No, we don't. I think they all realize that we have an obligation not only to the citizens of Narragansett, but also the tourists who come to our town to provide a safe environment for them, whether it's the highway, whether it's the water, whether it's buildings. And we take public safety very seriously. So we'd rather err on the side of caution, even though they might be, not have the full enjoyment of the beach.
Now, after all these years, you've never had to do this until now.
That is correct.
First time in history.
First time in history.
The troubles in Narragansett were nowhere to be found just a few short days earlier, as the East Coast Longboard Surfing Championships held competitions on the very same beach. A man known locally as Peter Pan is the regional director. He explains the process.
This is one of qualifying events. We have 12 qualifying events in the New England area all summer and right through the winter. This is our biggest competition because it is on July 4th, and we have a lot of people that come to it. We have competition, as you can see, in longboard, shortboard, bodyboard, everything. We have it for all ages, women, girls, boys, and even old men like me.
After years of being involved in the sport, he tells Coastal about the changes he's personally witnessed.
This is a really good beach. It's got a good attitude because there is no attitude at this beach. Some places have real bad attitudes.
Now, how about just crowds in general? Is this a sport that's picking up, or how's it going?
I would say that the popularity right now with the women is really big. It's gotten huge because of all the TV shows and the advertising. Girls and women have picked up the sport. We give tons of surfing lessons, and I'd say 80 to 90% of all women. The guys have kind of leveled off. Bodyboarding has dropped a lot. In the 80s, bodyboarding was really big, and now bodyboarding is like really at the very bottom of the downslide.
Women taking over the local surfing scene? Well, don't be surprised to see quite a few moms on boards this summer, and for some pretty unique reasons.
Just to be out there with my son so he wouldn't, get out over his head and get into trouble. He's doing better than I am.
The Narragansett Town Beach is a favorite for regional surfers of either gender.
There's no comparison. Narragansett Town Beach is the mecca of all New England surfing beaches. We have the most consistent waves. We have the best attitude with the lifeguards and the staff. The beach is run by John Burnett, who's a surfer, and all the lifeguards are surfers. So we have a really good deal going with the town and this beach. We have this whole area to ourselves for surfing. It's the only beach in New England that I know of that we can go out in the water and they throw the swimmers out. And that's rare. And we run all our ESA contests here, and the surf is the most consistent wave on the northeast seaboard as far as I'm concerned.
We asked for a rundown on regional beaches, and the longtime surf expert obliged.
Got some real good waves at Second Beach in Newport, First Beach in Newport. Little Compton's got excellent waves. Matunic, Mesquamaket, Charleston, all real good surf. The access isn't as good as some of those spots, but there's plenty of waves to be had, especially at Second Beach. There's a lot of room to surf at Second Beach in Newport, and they get a real good consistent surf in the summertime. Horseneck Beach is excellent. They have real good waves and a lot of coastline down there. And Situate, Hull, Egypt Beach, Nantasket, great surf over there also. I'm just talking about this vicinity. Narragansett's really good, but there's a lot of good surf up and down the New England seaboard, really.
And why do these surfers like to compete? It's pretty obvious. Local bragging rights, of course.
Well, everybody shoots their mouth off in the water and says how great they are. So we tell them, put up or shut up. Here's the contest. We got waves. If you're so good, go out in the water and prove it. So that's why basically a lot of the guys come, so they can back up their mouths.
All right, let me ask you, I heard you're not too bad on the board yourself. You gonna get out there?
I always go out there because everybody always wants to beat me, so that's one of the draws of coming to the contest. And I'm always ready for everybody.
And watch out, Peter Pan, the competition is what's drawing them here in the first place.
Well, actually, it's the competition, and I just moved over here to Massachusetts and to New England, so I'm having a good experience over here.
How were the waves today?
Oh, great, actually. You know, it picked up. This morning it was like, you know, in between waist height, the chest height. Right now it's just like you see good sets in between chest and shoulder height.
So how are you going to do out there?
Well, you know, I hope it's, you know, cross my fingers and catch a good rise today.
Riding for Coastal in Narragansett, Rhode Island, I'm Jim Parisi.
Got some questions about your boat that need answering? Well, it's time to go about the boat with Randy from Route 6 Marine.
Today we're going to show you how to summarize a boat. Since we have long winters, we need to summarize boats because they are winterized. Most people store their drives and take them off the boat. Dan's going to show us how to summarize this boat. The first step he's going to do is he's going to go over and he's going to check if the U-joints need any grease.
You want to check the U-joints on the drive and get them greased up if they have grease fittings. And you want to check your gear oil level, make sure there's no signs of any water, which should have been changed during the winterizing.
Next, as I understand it, we usually do the propeller. We wiggle it to try to get the shaft in straight. We're going to try that right now. Ready?
Have to select it into gear first, it'll be easier.
By pressing this down. There we go. You tightened up the gap. Now we're going to use the bolts to bring the gap closer and tighten it right up.
Ready?
In the older boats, it might have a little rust in there, so what you want to use is a dead blow hammer so you don't damage the threads. And then we'll press the pin for the trim and tilt through the drive.
Okay, you want to get your shift cable on, cotter pin, make sure everything's secure. You can get the cover back on and button this up.
Now the hard part's done, the drive's the hard wrestling part. We want to make sure that the battery's up to speed, charged up, check our belts, and what else,
All
Dan?
your battery connections, make sure they're clean and tight. The belts, bilge pump's a good time to check that up, replace it if it needs it.
And we should be ready for the water now.
This week's About the Boat is brought to you by Route 6 Marine.
When we come back, we'll have a chance to hear more from Steve Cast, our local Southern New England broadcast icon. Plus, we'll get Sandy as we go for our best of the beach. You're watching Coastal News.
Hi, I'm Ted Danson, and you're watching Coastal News.
The Fan CV is a 53-foot luxury private yacht specializing in corporate and private charters. Chartering is a great way to build relationships with your key customers and bond together your staff. Award your best sales team, maybe celebrate that anniversary, birthday, or a marriage proposal she'll never forget. Experience the Fan CV and arrange to meet Captain Dave and Veg Sardelli at Greenwich Bay Marina in Warwick, Rhode Island. Reserve a date, make some memories, call 401-821-4722 or email fancv@cox.net. Charter the Fan CV today.
Somewhere between Pascagoula and paradise, palm trees, tropical breezes, and turquoise seas are calling.
Wasting away again in Margaritaville.
Pack your bags and set sail for Margaritaville with Jimmy Buffett.
Changes in latitude, changes in attitude.
Meet me in Margaritaville, the ultimate collection.
Cheeseburger in paradise.
38 sun-soaked island songs, including timeless favorites like Cheeseburger in Paradise, Fins, and 4 new live recordings, including A Pirate Looks at 40.
Passed out and I rallied and I
Plus 6 new versions of Jimmy Buffett classics and 2 brand new recordings, Everybody's Talkin' and Sail on Sailor. Meet me in Margaritaville, the ultimate collection. Just $24.98 for 2 CDs plus $4.95 shipping and handling. Call now and get a collectible Albatross pin free with your paid order. Rush delivery available.
back in the U.S., back in the U.S., back in the U.S.
Paul McCartney is back in the U.S. 35 songs on 2 CDs. The ultimate collection of Paul McCartney's greatest hits, spanning his legendary career with the Beatles,
Hey Jude, don't make it bad.
Wings, and McCartney solo recordings.
Baby, I'm amazed at the way you love me all the time. Blackbird singing in the dead of night.
Special packaging includes a 32-page collector's booklet featuring rare photographs and tour memories from Paul McCartney. Order Back in the U.S. now and receive this exclusive limited edition Paul McCartney poster. Back in the U.S., the ultimate collection of McCartney's greatest hits. Your chance to bring home the concert of the year. To order, call the number on your screen or send $19.98 2 CDs, $15.98 2 cassettes, plus $4.95 shipping and handling to the address on your screen. Also available through this special TV offer. Back in the U.S. DVD. Order now.
From the shores of Newport to New Haven, the South Coast to South County, Coastal News.
I had a protein bar for lunch today. I try and eat like those protein bars and shakes, but you know, I really like the good old-fashioned seafood, you know, oysters, mussels, clams. I really, you know, I love seafood. That's my favorite kind of food.
Right, same here.
Yeah, but it's I gotta stay away from it, but it's so good. I love it.
No,
you're allowed.
You're allowed some during the summer. I think especially summertime. And on the beach, you have to have like a big lobster.
At least you don't feel guilty.
You have to have lobster on the beach. Lobster on the beach.
Lobster isn't that bad.
That's something you see so frequently.
Yeah,
All seafood's really good for you. I'm a big sushi fan.
Yes,
I like sushi.
I love
Sushi is excellent.
sushi. Like twice a week.
Me too.
But, you know, there's so many different places to go.
Speaking of food, it's time now for Coastal's Best of the Beach segment. We want to know what you all think is the place to get the best chowder and clam cakes in southern New England. Just email us with your choice for best chowder and clam cakes in the coastal region. Send your choice to best@coastalnews.com or go to our website, www.coastalnews.com, and click on Best of the Beach for details.
For Jillian and Shauna, I'm Laurie. See you on the beach.
Welcome back, everyone. Last week, if you were with us, you had a chance to hear from Steve Cass. Steve is a longtime Southern New England broadcast icon. He's been around the radio and television airways for many, many years, imparting his wisdom and his knowledge amongst those who live near the ocean or even on the ocean. This week, as we wind up our conversation with Steve, we get a chance to find out just what makes him tick.
I'm sitting here with Steve Cass. Many of you hear him every weekday morning on 63 WPRO. And Steve tells me that not many people know the personal side of Steve, so that's what we're going to get at right now. So tell me about your love for the ocean, because obviously someone who's getting in a kayak in the early morning and going out there, you know, you have to have a love for it. You've been in Rhode Island now for so many years. What's the thrill of it? What's the draw of the ocean?
I don't know. I just don't know, but I could live on it and stay in it. I'm a scuba diver too, so I love the water. I must have been a fish at some point. I just enjoy it. And I kayak we go from Charlestown to Block Island. And a lot of people say, what? You know, how'd you do that? You can take that thing just about anywhere if you know what you're doing.
Well, I guess you know what you're doing then. Let me ask you on the woodworking end. You're making a guitar. I know you've always been into music. How did you get started with woodworking? How serious are you? How good are you at it?
Well, it's interesting. I wanted to buy a stand-up desk because I kind of like to stand up and work and spread papers out. And so I went to a fine furniture show where they were selling them. They were all custom made. And they wanted $10,000 for the desk. I said, that ain't gonna happen. So I bumped into a friend of mine at Home Depot. And I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm buying some wood. He said, this friend of mine was a doctor, and he'd been taking woodworking lessons from an old timer who knew everything there was to know about it. And he said, you know, the guy might have a few hours available. Would you like to do that? I said, I would love to do that. Sounds like fun. And I did. And now I've made all sorts of things. So I've made the desk, and I've made couches, and not couches, really benches, and tables, and the guitar is going to be, that's tough.
I was just going to say that. That's
really
a whole
tough.
new area.
But I got some wonderful people you meet. A retired teacher who's been teaching wood turning on a lathe. I bumped into him. He's from Greenville. And he's been spending time with me. So I made a bowl the other day. I mean, just fun stuff.
Yeah, like you have all this extra time. You do television, you do your radio show every day.
You got 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there.
And what hits you on a talk show? I mean, I know I've done news stories that my eyes well up. Has there been a topic or a person or someone you've dealt with over the years that just blew you away, you almost couldn't talk about?
Well, certainly the station fire, the most recent tragedy in West Warwick. I mean, that was it was one of those things that was just overpowering. The whole state was affected by that because all of us knew someone, all of us lost someone. You can't live in Rhode Island without bumping into or being involved with another person when you have that many casualties. So that was one of the most difficult stories we had to do with. Clearly we get into wars like Iraq and issues like that that affect everybody. That's what talk radio is all about to me, where you can really connect with the community.
Now, how about in your personal life? And we're not going deep into it, but you come across as a very happy, relaxed, content man. Is your life reflective of that now? Has there been turmoil in your life? What keeps you grounded?
Well, I finally figured out the marriage game. Took me a few experiences to make that happen, but I have a wonderful wife, Debbie, who's just really made my life just a pleasure every day.
Your children are grown now, Steve. What are their ages? What do they do?
Well, I have twin boys who are 40 and another guy who's 38. Randy's a CPA in Providence. Don has a computer company called Connected in East Greenwich. And Bob is now doing real estate appraisals in Boston and Rhode Island. So,
do they ever call you on the phone and say, "Dad, why did you say this on the radio? That was..." Do you get that kind of heat or no?
I don't so much get that, but I'll get, boy, you had a very interesting program where there's a lot of turmoil going on, or someone might have yelled at me or something, and they picked up on that.
Now, how about this, I don't know what you would call it, trend of screaming conservative hosts and the whole liberal media, and where do you sit on it? How much is true? How legitimate is it? We don't have to name names, but do listeners get caught up in this? Are they duped into whatever's hot? I mean, what's it all about?
Well, this whole conservative liberal thing in talk radio is interesting because for whatever reason, liberal talk show hosts do not make it. I have no idea why. But it seems that most of the successful talk show people are pretty conservative. I don't know the reason for that. It can't be that liberals can't turn on a radio, and they certainly can dial a telephone. So why they wouldn't be involved in talk radio, I'm not sure.
Well, I guess they would say that media is liberal already, so that this is counter
well, that
to
could
that.
Be. And plus, the country is much more conservative than it was, and growing more so, frankly, every day. Because people work, they work hard. The taxes are oppressive, and we're sick of everybody with both hands out, doing nothing and feeding. And now, of course, in Rhode Island, we have a lot of issues now with people coming from other countries to Rhode Island, immediately getting on the welfare rolls, taking advantage of free education, free health care. And the bill is now becoming a very significant amount of money. In Providence, it's just had to expand millions and millions of dollars in new classrooms. Where are these kids coming from? They're not born in Providence. So, and that breeds some resentment. So there's a bunch of underlying issues going on with it.
Now, what's the biggest thing that's changed and the biggest thing that's not changed since you started talk radio?
I think there's no question that in Rhode Island, at least, and I can only speak for southern New England actually, but political issues where politics used to be a contact sport in Rhode Island. Since the banking crisis, I think people have really tuned out. They just don't pay attention to it anymore. Newspapers are having trouble selling newspapers. Younger people coming in, I don't think they're paying attention to the things that are really going to kill them 20 years from now.